From the Golf Boys Studios, it's the Golf Boys Do Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, Bill Truong. Hello, welcome back to the Golf Boys Do Fantasy Football Podcast. It's your boy, Bill Truong, and we are here back again to recap the finals of the Golf Boys Do Fantasy Football League. Some exciting games happening this week in the NFL and also in our Sleeper Fantasy League. Once again, thank you to our supporters and sponsors, especially the Talk the Plank podcast. You can find them at Talk the Plank on Instagram. And let's go ahead and get started in looking at these matchups. So firstly, we only really had two games this week. We had the first place game and the third place game. We can talk about both those games right now. Let's start first with the third place game. It was between Team Alvin Choi, Team Chizzy Choi, 0 RB1s, and Team Dave Hester, or Yak Hunter, or Arthur. So, this game was projected to be a really close one. Only 2 points in it, 127 and 125. Yak Hunter was supposed to be the winner, and he ended up winning. He ended up winning by a pretty large margin, probably 35 points, which is no laughing feat in this league. Arthur ended up winning on the backs of some great performances from his team this week. DJ Moore with 26.4 points. He was a stud for his team all season. One of the main catalysts for his team. So that was also a big reason. Jalen Hurts also putting up a very dependable performance. Devon Achane, also a great performance from him as well. One of his standout pickups of the year, Achane, really won him a lot of games down the stretch, even though he was injured for a good amount of it. Still got him some great points in the last 2 weeks. Another one of his studs this week was the Texans defense. They played the Tennessee Titans and only let them score 3 points. So that's always going to give you a good amount, a good haul of points. 22 to be, in fact, way outscoring their projection. A really great week from the Texans this week. And that really, those three performances, along with 16 from Jonathan Taylor, really were able to put this team past the 0 RB1's squad. Now, Alvin's team was hit with some unfortunate decisions. Kamara ended up getting injured. Devontae Smith ended up getting injured. Christian McCaffrey ended up getting injured. All of those players ended up not finishing their respective games. So he was kind of behind the 8 ball because of that. It's always gonna be tough when one person gets injured on your team, let alone 4. So Alvin was already put in a pretty sticky situation because of the fact that he didn't really have 4 of his main guys to really finish out the year for him. He did have some great performances from his team. Kyler Murray, in real life, going into Philly and beating the Eagles. 24 points on the fantasy squad. 11 points from Laporta. 11 points from Elliott. 13 points from Jason Myers, who was one of Arthur's studs before he ended up dropping him sometime during the season, as well as the Jaguars defense, putting up 18 points in a shutout win over the Panthers. Those are all of his great performances this week, but unfortunately not enough to really get past Dave Hester. Unfortunately for Alvin's team, that does mean that he ends up being 4th place. Unfortunate really end to the season for Alvin, being tabbed as really the league favorite to win the title almost all year, easily pacing the league in points and having depth all around the lineup. It was a really tough uphill battle for him during the playoffs. Went up against 2 very, very good opponents, and in the end of the day, his team didn't really perform. up to the standard that had been all season. So, fortunately for him, a fourth place finish is really all that it was guaranteed for him, and that's what his team ended up getting. For Dave Hester, however, a great sort of comeback, as you will, considering at one point he was in 8th place, looking outside of the playoffs as recently as week 12 even, and to claw his way back into the playoff picture, to claw his way back into that upper bracket semifinal, to even have a sniff of getting 3rd place is an impressive feat in itself and should be applauded. Great. Ended up having a really good and solid team all year. I'd say arguably the top 2, considering the end of what transpired at the end of the year. Unlucky for him that he came up against a pretty hot opponent in Alec, who ended up obviously, as you may know, winning the whole thing. But at the end of the day, a great performance, one that Arthur and his team can be really proud of, and hopefully they can bring that momentum going into next year. Next, let's talk about the championship game between Thomas, or Team Herbs with Herbie, and Team Alec, or Team Felony Fellas. Felony Fellas took the dub in this one by a pretty wide margin, just like the 3rd place game, about a 45 point win for the Felony Fellas over Herbs with Herbie. Just a quite resounding victory. Overall, it started really well for the Felony Fellas during the Thursday night game, with CeeDee Lamb dropping almost 200 yards, 227 yards to be exact, with a touchdown, just 13 catches, just a monster performance for the Felony Fellas. A performance like that is going to be hard to overcome no matter what, especially during a championship weekend like we just had. Not to compound that fact, he also the running backs, the 2 running backs that Thomas had, Pollard and Gibbs, also didn't really combine for too much that game. So Thomas was really behind the 8 ball from that matter. Alec ended up having a lot of strong performances on his team. Lamar Jackson with 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, incredible game in an absolute beatdown on Miami. He also had, obviously, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, also a great game from Nico Collins, Aaron Jones, a great game, Harrison Butker, who he actually picked up off the waiver wire this week, had 24 points, 6 made field goals. That is an impressive feat no matter who it is, but especially because he found him on the waiver wire this week after a fit of rage from Alvin, who actually ended up dropping him after his horrendous 1-point performance last week. Ended up dropping him and to Alex's gain. And yeah, a lot of his team just did really solid this week. League winner Tyreek Hill for him, who got him really to that point in general. Didn't actually have a crazy game, but his team still did well enough to take on the W. Next, on Thomas's team, he had a couple of standout players. Justin Fields with a great performance, 25 points. Puka Nacua, who has been great for him all year, 16 points. On track to break the rookie season receiving record, which is mightily impressive for a waiver wire pickup. Brandon Ayuk with 100 yards and a touchdown, likely with 2 touchdowns. So not necessarily having a terrible day from his standards, but just obviously not good enough to beat the Felony Fellas. Left some points on the bench. Brandon Aubrey, who's been a stud for him all year, on the bench. Cowboys defense, who did better than the Raiders defense, who he started. Zay Flowers, also on the bench this week. A lot of great names on Thomas's bench that really could have helped him out. But at the end of the day, the Felony Fellas were just a bit too good. And congrats to them. Honestly, a number 2 seed, 9-5 going into the playoffs. Everybody kind of tabbed Alec as one of the potential favorites, but not really giving him the respect that he really deserved, considering he was new to the league this year. Really took the league by storm and showed everybody what he was really capable of this year. So good for him. Good for Alec. Congratulations to the Felony Fellas for a incredible championship win. And hopefully we see more from him next year. All right, so next up for you guys, we've got some audio from actually every team manager for this podcast. First, we'll start off with the two in the third place game. We'll start off with the loser of the third place game, Alvin Choi, and let's hear his thoughts on the game that transpired. Apologies for the poor audio. Not sure what happened with the recording, but I didn't pick up my microphone very well, so just enjoy the scuffed audio from my side. Hello, welcome back. We've got Alvin, owner of the Zero RB1s team. Hello, thank you again for choosing to speak with us.
Happy New Year, Bill. Happy to be here.
So let's get right into the matchup you had last week. Played Dave Hester in the third place game.
I did.
Just wanted to hear your initial thoughts on how that game went.
It went about as poorly as I could have imagined. I mean, I was telling you like off camera, but I just didn't really have a lot of emotions this week, coming out of really reeling from a week 16 ass clapping and just all the tumultuous feelings I was going through during that week. I was numb for this week. Third place, fourth place, it was all the same. It was just a fall from grace.
About a $10 difference, but yes, it was.
It was. It really was.
For the viewers who are unaware about what happened last week, I had Alvin on last week talk about his loss to Thomas last week, and he went on like a 15-minute tirade of his team.
It was about like
15, 20 minutes. I originally asked him, like, hey, you want to hop on for a short 5-10 minute talk?
I couldn't stop.
He started and couldn't stop. Just rambling about it.
You got me going, Bill.
It was like you had to be their moment, but
you wound me up and you let me loose.
Yeah, wound you up like a toy.
For this matchup, at least, just some thoughts on my team, and then I could speak to Arthur's team. But
yep,
a lot of injuries for my team this week. Some were more inconsequential than others, but I lost Kamara, I lost Christian McCaffrey, and I lost Devonta Smith. Definitely needed my running backs to show out this week, and my team name rang true. You know, 0 RB1s. I got no one out there. I got Zeke, I got Monty, and that's about it. I'm happy to see that Kyler had a great game, threw for 3 touchdowns. You know, beat the Eagles. That's at the Eagles. I mean, just balls of steel. You know, from K1. From Arizona there. And then, Sam Laporta. Last week I talked about how I needed Sam Laporta to show up. He was coming off a 3 touchdown game to like a 1 catch game that killed me against Thomas. And, he did his job this week. So happy to see him bounce back. And, he's got a special place in my heart. Also made some key special teams changes.
Oh my God.
And it feels good to have special teams score more than just 1 point for you. So the bar was low, and Jason Myers exceeded that.
Some great performances from your special teamers this week. Jason Myers with 13 fantasy points. The Jaguars with 18. Shutout win with the Carolina Panthers. Great decisions there. Just wanted to go on to the next topic that I wanted to talk to you about. So what are your thoughts on, since we're talking about these special teams changes, you did let go of your kicker, Harrison Butker.
I did.
Last week, and he ended up being picked up by the Felony Fellas en route to a resounding win in the championship game. Give your thoughts on that move for
Yeah. So Alec and I colluded, and I figured that he needed a win, and he needed of all his fantasy football positions, I think he was the weakest at kicker, and I figured getting the Chiefs kicker would be a good move for him. So I tactically dropped him so that Alec could pick him up and have him go absolutely nuclear for six field goals.
Yeah, scored 24 points. Wouldn't have actually changed your matchup, but
no,
it was a huge part of how resounding that win was.
Yeah, I hate Harrison Butker. I don't think he's a bad kicker. He's a talented kicker. Maybe this is more so just speaking to like the Chiefs overall and how they fucking suck this year and not giving Harrison Butker any opportunities. And then, like when I needed him the most, right? Like in the semifinals, just give me a chance, Wow, 24 points. 24 points would have gone a long way last. That would have been so sick. Like, what's another time when he's had 20 plus points as a kicker? None this season. None. No. He laid a fucking turd when I needed him the most. And in a fit of rage, I dropped him and I picked up 3 other kickers to try to make the decision on who to start over him. And it didn't even matter because maybe I'm just the cursed team and he has a personal vendetta against me, picking him up and starting him throughout the entirety of the year. Maybe he got sick of me, and he just needed a change of scenery. So I'm happy that Alec was able to reap the benefits of him without experiencing any of the emotional turmoil of owning him. Shout out Jason Myers for giving me double-digit points. That's really cool. I haven't seen that probably in the last month. So it feels good to have that feeling again. And fuck Harrison Butker.
Oh, you heard it here first. Was collusion between Alvin and Alec about Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker. So I'm expecting for you to hear from the commissioner's office sometime after this podcast.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate that. That was the only thing that you took away from that conversation.
Exactly the only thing. I'm here to make some headlines. So, anyways, moving on from that, last thing I wanted to ask you was your thoughts on the year, the thoughts on the year overall, and what are you looking forward to next year?
That's a good question, Bill. I thought the year was typical of my fantasy football experience, where there's a lot of good spirits, a lot of good banter amongst the league mates. A lot of great activity with a great group of guys. So had a lot of fun this year. A lot of trades, a lot of wins in the trades, a lot of losses in the trades, a lot of time invested into this, and all that just to finish in 4th place. Call me the 4th place king, someone who comes in with a full head of steam just to disappoint. So love it, Okay, I absolutely adore Christian McCaffrey. He is my god in fantasy and in real life football. So I am privileged to have the opportunity to be a Christian McCaffrey owner. I congratulate Arthur on securing 3rd place and a podium finish. I want to thank everyone that gave me a good time and a good experience in this league. Fuck Harrison Butker and everything he stands for. Fuck Derek Carr and his bitch ass inability to play the quarterback position. Fuck the Eagles. And fuck Nick Sirianni. Fuck AJ Brown. Just fuck AJ Brown. He's always bitching. All right. And Devonta Smith doesn't say anything. So I'm just always going to advocate for him. The better, more talented wide receiver, but you didn't hear it from me. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Well, that does it for us. Thanks again, Alvin, for coming on. Always a blast having you on the podcast. So thanks again for coming on. And you have anything you want to shout out?
I want to shout out Alec, first time league participant, immediately a champion. Thomas did say he averages 1.5%, 1.5 in his position. Well, Alec averages 1. So that's pretty fucking good. Thomas, I'm looking forward to our rivalry matchup next year. Can't wait to be on the winning side of Monty and Gibbs next year. Yeah, that's Team 0RB1 signing off. Thanks for organizing this, Bill.
Yes, of course. Well, that does it for us. Guys, next time. Goodbye.
Peace.
Now let's flip that and let's go to the victorious Dave Hester manager, Arthur Wilkie, and his thoughts on his team's performance this year. And just to recap his entire year, take a listen. Hello, everybody, and we're back with another interview. We've got Arthur Wilkie here today, the team owner of Dave Hester. Arthur, nice of you to join us this time.
Yeah, really excellent to be here. Thank you for setting up this interview.
Yeah, of course. So just wanted to get your overall initial leading thoughts on your matchup this week. You came out with a win against Alvin, Choi, 0 RB1s. What are your initial thoughts coming from the week?
Look, I mean, really, really elated. I think the story of this season for Dave Hester is perseverance. We had our two biggest players in the draft, Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor, out for the first 4 games. We went 1-3 in that span, and it was always, if we get a win, we're in a good spot. And sure enough, we were. And, there were a couple miracles that had to happen, a couple mountains that had to be moved for us to get into the postseason, but we did it. We proved that we should be there. And quite frankly, I think we were the second best team in the league, which isn't too far-fetched considering our performance in the final weekend and just our performance throughout the year. But I think overall, Alec, very deserving victor to take the league crown. But I think we were right up there with the heavyweights. We deserve to be there, and just really excellent all around. So happy to be in third place considering where we were last year.
Yeah, it's a great performance overall, considering that you really had to win an important playoff game to get even into the playoffs in the first place. Can you talk about how what the mood was like in the team a couple weeks ago when you had that 1-versus-1 matchup, basically against Matt, to even get into the playoffs?
So we take inspiration from Atletico Madrid, from Diego Simeone in the 2014 La Liga winning campaign that they had. It was every game is a final. Every game is a final. And that's what it was for us this year. I mean, we were on the ropes multiple times, and really in multiple times within those single matchups. I mean, you go back to the Week 13 encounter against Jacobs and Jacoby, and it came down to the very end of that Monday Night Football game. That was a tight matchup, and then as fate would have it, we pulled out the win, and then we absolutely destroyed Team Matty Ice. Just clutch performance. I think he didn't bring his A game there, but you can't every week in fantasy football. It's a long season. It's really, really tough to get across the finish line, but we did. We did in third place. We got our money back, our buy-in, and I think we've got great momentum heading into next year.
Especially because it really was so close. I mean, you had a really catastrophic loss to the San Jose Barracks, if you may recall, which kind of put you.
They were the Jovers.
Yeah, they were the Jovers at the time. They were with the Barracks now, but that
was 3 straight losses that I had against Chicago Final, Vanilla Ice Cream, and the Jovers. And that was just our season was looking grim.
It was looking really hard for you guys to make the playoffs, but congratulations to you guys. You guys really pulled it out there. Do you think it was the motivational video that was apparently released after the loss to the Jovers?
It was bulletin board material, sure, but no, I mean, we really just came back to the drawing board after each of those losses and just tried to get, a bit better every week. And I think that's what every good fantasy football team does. But just our performance in 1-score games this season, 10 points or less, was just really disappointing this year. And that's what I want to see improve going forward, from the boys. We lost by 7 to the Chicago Final. We lost by 4.8 to Vanilla Ice Cream, and then by just over 10 points, 10.46 to the Jovers. So I mean, you can't have that happen that late in the season. That's not right. So we really got to work on our late season form. We got to take some inspiration here from Drew. This is someone who I tipped to have a big year next year. If he could pull out a couple early season wins, that's where he struggled in the past. But late season Drew, real threat. If he had been in the postseason, he posted 190 points last week in the Toilet Bowl matchup.
Yeah, and, unbelievable performance.
Yeah, 2-0 in the Toilet Bowl in the 2 years of this league. So I think next year he's going to turn that around. That's going to be a postseason W. So we got to take inspiration from that. We just got to we have to be consistent. We have to be consistent. That's what we got to improve on next year.
Now let's turn it back around to the actual game that you played this week. What were some of the key standouts from your team that really helped you guys get over the line?
Yeah, well, first thing I can point to is not just a standout, but a standout bunch, the Houston Texans defense. 22 points. That it was a week for the AFC South defense. How about that? The Jaguars on the other side, 18 points, but every point mattered in this matchup. Certainly, even though Alvin had a couple underperforming players because of injuries. Really unfortunate for him because he had a fantastic season otherwise, and for a 10 like this, that's terrible. But we at least got some juice out of our defenses there, but it could have been a lot worse. Imagine if I start somebody like I don't know, some team that gets beat up on. I can't think of anyone right now. How about the other side? How about if I was an idiot and started the Titans defense or the Panthers defense, and that's negative 1 point. That's a 19-point swing to Alvin. So that's just important right there. DJ Moore, great season, really great way to cap it off. And of course, Devin Achan. Well, I'm probably not pronouncing his first name right, but just what a player! I would say league winner, but league bronze winner. Just great player. Now, I do want to call some attention here to this duo of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. That might be one that I want to avoid next year. First of all, I mean, great in the early season when they're picking up wins. But if they face a team that breaks them, like the Niners earlier this year, they haven't been the same duo since. And it's been really hard to trust A.J. Brown. Right? And I worry that I mentioned it, a Stephon Diggs type character. Great early season, but bad second half, and obviously that's a player you want to avoid in fantasy. So whoever takes AJ Brown next year, or if I should end up getting stuck with him again, be careful, watch out.
Looking forward to next year. What do you hope that you can get out of your what do you hope that you can take in from your 2023 season into the 2024 season?
I think I've learned a little bit more about the spending habits of the 9 other competitors in this league. I dropped $34 on Gus Edwards. Every penny of that, gave me a great return. I dropped another 34 on Devin Achan, and again, worth every penny. But I probably could have gotten those 2 for Gus Edwards, certainly $20. Achan probably 27, 28. So every dollar does matter in these fab leagues, and I probably could have been in for some other players. Luckily there wasn't a whole lot actually on the waiver wire as the season progressed, which was surprising. No real like late season studs that would fill positions of need in this league, but that's not always going to be the case. There needs to be a little bit better budgeting going forward, and I think that I've cracked the puzzle, solved the puzzle, cracked the code, I should say, on the rest of the teams and their spending.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Arthur, for taking the time to interview with us today. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out or anything you'd like to say?
No, I mean, I think, look, the league was run phenomenally this year, but sucking up to our commissioner hasn't really done me any good this year. But I do want to give him hats off for running this league. It's really entertaining, really fun, and everybody that's active, chatting every week really makes it worthwhile and makes it a league that you want to win it. There's another league that I'm in that's a money league, $20 buy-in. It's a dynasty league, but it's so boring compared to this. So, thanks to everybody for making this great. And, my matchups this year had great ratings because of all the drama that we're in. So I think, it's a good relationship. I'm good for the league, and the league is good for me. So, right. And I hope the league is good for everybody. And I hope everyone has a happy new year and comes back to the drawing board in August, ready to fire up another great season of fantasy football.
Absolutely. Well, that's all that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much again to Arthur for coming on, and see you guys next time. Goodbye. Now let's quickly switch over to the interviews from the first place game. Let's quickly start first with Thomas, the commissioner of our league and the second place winner in the fantasy league this year. Let's take a listen to what he has to say. Hello and welcome back. We are here with Thomas, the team manager of Herbs with Herbie. Hello, Thomas. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking. So I just wanted to ask you a couple questions about your matchup last week with the Felony Fellas. It was in the championship final, and you ended up losing. So what are your initial thoughts on the matchup this week?
Yeah, I did take the L. Well played to Alec. Congrats to him, the new champion of the Golf Boys Do Fantasy Football League. Unfortunately the matchup was pretty over on Saturday night when CD decided he was going to have 33 points. And then Pollard and Gibbs didn't really do anything. And then, of course, I ended up tinkering with the special teams, right, and changing out my kicker and my defense, and that ended up being the incorrect decision for this week. So, it was pretty dead on Saturday night with that CD performance. I think CD won a lot of leagues this year for a lot of people. And so, that was a bummer, but it was kind of fun to watch. Like I said in my audio clip it from last week, I had Lamar Saquon in another league, and I ended up taking home the championship in that one. So I'm not. I didn't go 0 for yesterday, so it doesn't feel as bad. But like I said, really well played to Alec. Lamar CD stacked too much, and then obviously the generational Harrison Butker performance after Alvin dropped him. Right, that's too good.
Yeah, so I wanted to actually touch on that just a sec. You put in the chat yesterday that there was a potential for some money laundering with Alvin dropping Butker. He was very livid on the podcast last week about dropping Butker. He went off on a tirade about how he kind of sucked all year and he ended up dropping him for someone else. And then Alec picked him up and he popped off. Can you comment on the message that you put in our chat last night?
I suspected some laundering going on with Alvin dropping Butker for Alec for the championship game. To get a kicker like that on the waiver wire on the day of the championship is a little bit suspicious, but it's all in good fun. I mean, Butker 6 of 6 from on his field goals. That's pretty nutty. So what are you gonna do? I won some matchups this week, or excuse me, this season, strictly because of my kicker and my defense. So I can't be mad when it comes right back around.
Yeah, someone who's been on the receiving end of those beatdowns because of your defense, I know firsthand.
Yes, sir.
Some other comments. You left a couple important pieces on the bench, like you mentioned earlier. Your kicker, Brendan Aubrey, who's been a stud for you all year. You decided to drop him on the bench for the greatest kicker of all time, Justin Tucker. Ended up not working out for you too well, as well as like keeping guys like say Flowers on the bench as well. Can you go ahead and comment on what was your reasoning behind doing those decisions?
So Tucker actually outscored Aubrey last week, so that was part of my logic. And I thought that game was going to be high scoring. Unfortunately, Miami couldn't ever get a stop, and so they just gave up 8 touchdowns instead of forcing Tucker to kick at any point. So I guess a little missed part of the calculation there. And then Flowers actually never got a start for me. I never had him higher than Mike Evans, Puka, or Brandon Ayuk, and it's tough. Actually, you'd think that Flowers would have gotten some run, especially with the injuries that I had to deal with. Losing Keenan right before the playoffs, losing Mark Andrews. I know that's a different position, but and then obviously with Herbert going down. But it's I never thought to play Flowers, so that one is just an L.
Yeah, it happens, So moving on. Just wanted to ask you about your performance this year, what you thought went well, what went wrong, and looking forward to next year, and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think a lot went right this year in terms of some of my predictions for who was going to play well this season. I think Jahmyr Gibbs was a huge part of why I made the run that I did. I was. Let me go and find it. I want to be accurate in my how many points for I had, but I'm pretty sure I was up there like second and flirting with the top for most of the season in terms of points for, and scraped by with a 7-7 record. Just kind of barely limped into the playoffs. Ultimately, like anybody, I dealt with injuries, losing obviously my namesake Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews. I had built the lineup that kind of relied on having positional advantage at the tight end position, and I had that for a long time, and then not really being able to replace that. Although Isaiah Likely was really good in Mark Andrews' place, it just wasn't quite the same. I couldn't quite recover from that. Really glad to have prevented, just get a little jab in here, prevented Alvin from competing for a title. Ultimately, I think his squad is more deserving of it, but I rallied the troops up for 1 week, and obviously fell flat this week, but had a good showing in the semis. But it was a fun year. I also did correctly predict the third place matchup. My bad if I'm segueing before you were planning on getting there, but congrats to Arthur for bringing home third place. Him and I sneaking in as the underdogs, as the lower seeds in the playoffs, ended up with nice second and third place finishes.
No, you're good. Yeah, it's you had a good year overall. I think you were second in terms of points scored for. So,
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I couldn't find it because all I could find was the playoff bracket.
But overall, great year for you.
Who was first in points for?
It was Alvin.
You have it up. Okay.
Alvin.
Yep, that makes sense.
Makes sense considering he was the favorite to win the whole thing for about 14 weeks. Until his team decided to quit on him the last 2 weeks. So we'll hear some audio from him later, hopefully, about how his team performed this season. So yeah, but that'll pretty much just wrap it up. Thanks a bunch, Thomas, for hopping on. Any last words for the people? Any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, I guess just shout out to everybody for another fun year. It's a pleasure to commish this league. It's always interesting. Less trades this year than there were last year, but again, just big congrats to Alec winning his inaugural season. I hope that's enough to see. It's what we have to do, right? We give them one in their first year to get them to come back. So yeah, another great year. So I guess just shout out to everybody for the participation and making it a fun and lively and competitive league. And I'm looking forward to next year.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Thomas, for taking the time to chat with me. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Now, last but certainly not least, here's some comments from the manager of the Felony Fellas, our league champion Felony Fellas, Alec Gonzalez. Let's take a listen. Hello. Welcome back. We've got Alec here again, the team manager of the Felony Fellas, the victorious Felony Fellas.
That's right, baby.
Alec, how are you feeling?
It's been nothing short of magical. It's been absolutely amazing to be the victor of the league. I'm $120 richer right now, and besides the money, it's the pride, it's the bragging rights. I mean, no one else did it. It was all me, baby.
Right. Take me through the emotions of the weekend, because it looked really good for you, even going into the Thursday's game.
Yeah.
You had that huge advantage with the projected points. Also, a Thursday night game really put you ahead in terms of your team's performance. So go ahead and sum up what that Thursday was like.
Nothing will ever compare to the sleeper notification that said CeeDee Lamb made a big play of 92 yards and a touchdown. That was just fucking ethereal. I mean, after I got that notification, I just felt so good. I was at a bar with some friends. They were playing the game at the bar. CeeDee Lamb just fucking taking it all the way. Oh my God. That was awesome. It set me ahead a lot. I mean, he had 33 points by the end of that game. I think my odds to win were in the 60, the high 60s at that point. So I felt really good after Thursday. And, I just felt like everybody on my team was going to have a good week after that. It set the tone. I mean, obviously not everybody did, but it was more than enough to get there. So what can I say, man? It was a great Thursday, and it set me up for a great Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it didn't help with the fact that Pollard and Gibbs also only combined for about 10 points. It's 2 players for us to 1.
That was sublime.
Not a great start for Thomas, but you can only work with what's in front of you.
Yeah. I think my second favorite part of the week was the whole Butker situation.
Right.
I was watching that game the previous week with Alvin. You might remember I sent a photo of Alvin hunched over his coffee table in agony.
Right.
That was actually about Harrison Butker. So I heard rumors that people were thinking maybe there was some collusion there between me and Alvin. Let me just put that to rest. There is no chance in hell Alvin would ever spoon feed me points. He was very upset at Harrison Butker. So, as soon as I was able to pick him up, I did with my 0 remaining fab, and just watching him rack up 5-6 field goals. Oh my God, dude. I mean, there's just no better feeling in the world than making the right move,
Yeah, I actually wanted to touch on that that notion just a smidge. Yeah, so obviously to put into some context, earlier in the group chat, there have been some claims of collusion and spoon feeding points between Alec and Alvin, raised by Alec's opponent, Thomas.
My lesser. Let's just call it.
Right. Okay. I can't call him that, but you can, since he pays the bills for me. Yeah. So there were some claims of collusion, but nice of you to deny the rumors, especially because nobody could have predicted that.
It
Also,
was really funny.
Also, as a disclaimer, I had my call with Alvin right before this, and Alvin did say he spoon fed you. So
Alvin is so full of fucking bullshit.
So who knows what the real truth is, fellas? It's up to the commissioner to decide.
Oh my God, I'm so fucking salty. He said that. He was so pissed at Butker. Oh my God, he was so mad. Like, he told me I was a fool for picking him up because I was gonna play Matt Gay. I put my 7 fab on Matt Gay, and then I was like, well, fuck it, I'll go for Butker. This is a lesson in relationships and in life. Butker was 25 for 25 prior to missing those 2 field goals last week, and it's a life lesson. You can't just like throw somebody aside because of their immediate shortcomings. You got to look further back into the past. It's not just about the 2 missed field goals; it's about the 25 made field goals. So,
yes, exactly.
As
a wise man,
I refute Alvin's claims.
As a wise man that I know, his name is Arthur Wilkie, had once said, "Start your studs." Actually, I think it was Matt that said that. It was one of the two. But start your studs, and Harrison Butker is a stud, as we found out this past weekend.
And let's also note, I got him for 0 fab. True. Anybody could have picked him up. So I mean, Alvin dropped him. He's the number 1 seed. I'm the number 2 seed. So everybody would have had seeding priority if they tried to pick him up over me. So what are y'all doing? Y'all fucking missed out on 24 points. And I didn't even need the 24 points. So it's fine.
Now, as the seconds tick down on Sunday Night Football, describe the overwhelming emotions that ran through your body as you essentially sealed the win.
Okay, so I sealed the win in the early slot on Sunday. Thomas had less points than me, and I still had 1 flex, my kicker, and my defense. I thought about, this is going to sound a little mean, I thought about taking out my flex and my defense and my kicker just to like make it 100%. I was like really thinking like that might just be a good idea to just like 100% seal it. I mean, the odds of them getting negative points were pretty abysmal, but I decided to leave them all in because I wanted to get more points than Yak Hunter. I wanted it to be an undisputed victory. I didn't want to hear in the chat, oh, I could have beat him, if I was in the finals. I wanted it to be a done deal. I'm the undisputed victor of this year. So I left them all in. And then, obviously I got to the point differential I needed. And that was the end of my night. That led in perfectly to New Year's Eve, where I could just ride the high and enjoy the night.
At the end of the day, it was a very resounding victory. You got the most points in the league that week. Yeah, nothing else can be said about your team. Well, speaking of, I guess looking forward, you are going to be the defending champion heading into the new league year next year.
No, I quit.
You're quitting
the league
officially.
Yep, 1 victory. I come into your house. I win. I leave.
All right, well, folks, you heard it first. Alec Gonzalez.
No. I would never. I just think it would be funny if I did that, but I would never do that. It would just be mad disrespectful. But of course I'll be back next year.
Absolutely. All right. Well, anyways, speaking of, you'll be coming into next season with a target on your back, obviously. Defending champion. Looking forward to next year. What do you think you got to do to, I guess, stay on top?
Well, look, I will be honest. I'll bring myself down a little bit. I got insanely lucky with injuries this year. Insanely lucky. Really no major injuries. I mean, if you look at this year, it was the year of the backup quarterbacks. I had Lamar the entire season. I don't think he missed a single game. I mean, it was just his bye. I'm looking right now. He played every single game. So that was a huge blessing. CD and Tyreek, no major injuries except for maybe 1 week for Tyreek. That's going to be something else or something for next year that I'm going to have to pray for. Obviously, slightly out of my control. But besides that, I think I definitely drafted quite well this year. Obviously, getting my wide receivers in the draft, that was pretty clutch. Getting the top 2 in the same draft. So doing that again, not exactly getting the top 2 again, but like just drafting well in general. And then just trading with Alvin because he loses all of his trades. So I'll just keep trading with Alvin again next year. And I know he's a trade heavy guy, so I'll just keep fleecing him again, and I'll win again.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan, honestly.
Maybe we'll do some trades, Bill.
Sounds like the way when you did fleece me this year with Miles Sanders. That's
right.
That was a horrific trade looking back at it, but
I was pretty hyped when you took it. He's on waivers right now. You can pick him up if you want.
Oh, he was so bad. That was not the play. Aaron Jones was very mid this year in general, but he was better than Miles Sanders. So
yeah, I mean, he had his ups and downs, but going into next year, I think I'm definitely also going to want to play the waiver a little bit better. My biggest regret this entire year was dropping HN. That was really fucking dumb. He dropped like 44 points the following week.
Yeah,
so I think I'm going to try to keep space on my bench for prospects. I didn't need to drop HN that week. If I was just a little more patient, it could have gone really well. So
yeah, looking back at it, that was a crazy acquisition. That was a crazy drop and a crazy acquisition for the Dave Hester team. So at the end of the day, we're not one to hurt you though.
Yeah, I mean, it just would have been nice. I mean, I could have gotten the 1 seed maybe if I did that or if I kept him. But I'm not too upset about it, looking back. But if hindsight is 2020, that's definitely one thing I want to improve on is giving bench players a bit more of a chance to do well. I'm also never fucking drafting Deontay Johnson ever again. I despise him. I've had him 2 years in a row. And he will not be on my team next year. That is a fact. I will probably draft. I don't know if I want to give away my draft secrets here, but I am a massive Lamar Jackson truther, so I might go for Lamar again next year. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyways, let's. I think that's about all the time we have today. Alec, any shout outs you want to give?
I do. I know I do my fair share of shit talking, but I had a lot of fun. This league is great with trading, with banter, so I'm excited to come back. Definitely the one that I wanted to win of my 2 leagues. So, thank you all for being active. Thank you all for paying me. And we'll be back next year defending champ, baby.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks again, Alec, for coming on.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. See ya. And that just about wraps it up for today. From the Golf Boys Do Fantasy Football podcast, I'm your host, Bill Truong. It's been a wonderful year of fantasy football. A lot of great storylines, a lot of great banter, and ultimately a deserving champion who deserves to win his title. So congrats again to Alec. Congrats to everybody who competed. And congrats to everybody on an amazing year. Hopefully, we get to see you all again next year. So, I will see you guys next time.